the remarkable work of the Whitlam Orthopedic Research Center, but also we contribute to a cause that impact countless lives. Believing is a testament to the power of the community and generosity, and we are excited to share with all of you.
We are truly delighted to see so many familiar faces and new friends gathered together with many renowned doctors and professors. Your presence is not only a testament to the power of community and generosity, like my colleagues just mentioned, but to me also a testament to the power of compassion. And it fills up with excitement to the great and unforgettable evening ahead. So thank you for being here, and let's enjoy a night filled with joy, connection and inspiration as we're here to celebrate and to support a good cause. Without further ado, let's begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's commence with the acknowledgement of the country. We would like to acknowledge the traditional custodian of the land on which we met today. We would like to pay respect to elder past, present, emerging, and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today.
Ladies and gentlemen, to open the night formally, we'd like to invite a truly remarkable individual to the stage to share her gratitude and to deliver her formal welcome. She is the director of the Whitlam Orthopedic Research Center and also one of the key organizers behind this charity event. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Justin Naylor.
Thanks very much, Joseph. I too would like to acknowledge the original inhabitants of the land on which we meet tonight, and that's basically the Darug people. Thank you very much for coming tonight. My job here at the moment is to give you a snapshot view of what Whitlam is, who we are, and why we're here tonight. I might get down on the floor, the reception might be better. Oh, okay. Okay, there's a bit of a history lesson here as well, so I apologise in advance. So around the year 2000, the Whitlam Joint Replacement Centre was originated at Fairfield Hospital, and a primary aim of the Whitlam Joint Replacement Centre was to create a centre of excellence for performing joint replacement surgery or arthroplasty surgery, I'll use that term as well, in southwest Sydney. And another aim of the Whitlam Joint Replacement Centre was to conduct its own research. All good origin stories start off in a cupboard, but they don't all end with multi-billion-dollar Hollywood deals. But certainly my journey in this space started in a cupboard. So in 2003, I was employed to start the research at the Whitlam Joint Replacement Centre at Fairfield Hospital. I was the only researcher in the hospital. They weren't used to having a researcher around, so they didn't know what to do with me. So they put me in a cupboard. Now, despite very humble beginnings, me and some clinician colleagues who are here tonight got runs on the board very quickly for some of our research, which is really great. I've lost the slides. But the problem with being at Fairfield and being a single researcher, there are not enough of me to be able to generate the track record that you need to generate to be able to get the big research grants in order to do the research that you need to do. So I needed to make a decision. Would I move on to work and collaborate with other people so I could be in a position to develop a track record so I could get the good grants? So in 2007, I went across to Liverpool Hospital. And at that point in time, a very well-known surgeon, Professor Ian Harris, was finishing his own PhD. And we realised very quickly that we worked very well together. So in 2009, we formed our own research centre called the Whitlam Orthopaedic Research Centre. And we did that because as our own research centre, we would be able to apply for Category 3 grants, which means grants from industry, grants from philanthropy, and put that money through Whitlam and then perform our own research without having to pay the administration fees that we would need to pay if we got these grants through the university. Now, when you're starting a new research program or a research centre, you need to really monitor your performance to make sure you're doing a good job. And these are the research metrics that we use to monitor how we're going. We look at grant funding, we look at the publications that we have, the citations of those publications. We look to supervise new PhD students so that we then help bring through new researchers for the future. And most importantly, we look at the impact of our research on health and the healthcare system. So Whitlam's been together for 15 years now. And in that 15 years, Ian and I together, through Whitlam, have been able to raise over $3 million of research funds that largely go back into Southwest Sydney. And from that, we've created 45 publications. But, as I said, you need to collaborate with a lot of people to get the track record so that you could get the really big grants, which are the $5–6 million grants that you get through the Australian government and you apply through the universities. This is just a picture of just some of the people that we've collaborated with over the years. And we've invited these people to be on our grants and they've invited us to be on their grants, and we've all written papers together. So in total, with Whitlam specific research, as well as all the research we do with our collaborators, Ian and I have been able to raise over $68 million over the past 15 years. Much of that money goes into Southwest Sydney, but it also goes Australia-wide because we do research Australia-wide. And from that, we've almost published over 500 papers together. I said before that we also were interested in student supervision because we have a responsibility to create the new generation of researchers. Over the past 15 years, we've supervised 13 postgraduate students, largely PhDs. We still have about another 6 on the books as we speak. And we've also supervised over 50 undergraduate medical students because at UNSW, medical students there spend a year doing research. But as I said, most importantly, it's important that our research makes an impact on the health system and on the health of Australians. So I'm just going to give you a few highlights of some of the research that we've done. So this is a study we published in JAMA in 2017. This was our HIHO study. It compared hospital inpatient-based rehab compared to a simple home program for people who had knee replacement. This trial won a whole lot of awards. It resulted in a whole lot of media opportunities for us. And we even got a full-page article about us in the New York Times in April 2017. That was quite hilarious, actually. And you may remember the Medibank and Home ad, where the guy in the picture is doing his rehab at home after his knee replacement. That's all based on our work. Another big study we did was the EPOC study. This was a study where we followed 1,900 patients who'd had their knee or hip replaced. All these patients were across Australia from 19 hospitals, and we followed them for 3 years. It resulted in a whole lot of publications and helped people, a whole lot of people get their PhDs, etc. But very importantly, it was the foundation study for our next very important study called the Crystal Study. Now, the Crystal Study is a study where we wanted to know what was the best medicine to give people to prevent getting a blood clot after knee or hip replacement surgery. And we looked at aspirin versus Clexane, or what we know as low molecular weight heparin. This study also was a very successful study. It recruited almost 10,000 patients, and it's having a big impact in the scientific community now. And this study also has received lots of awards. This study was led by Ian Harris, and that's his PhD student receiving the award to the left of him. Another study that we're doing at the moment is also led by Ian, is the ARC trial, the Australian Rotator Cuff trial. Now, degenerative tendon tears in the shoulder are very common, particularly amongst older people, and surgery may not always be the best option. So this trial is looking at whether to surgically repair or not surgically repair the rotator cuff, degenerative rotator cuff tears. This will be another important trial when it finishes in a couple of years. Another big trial that we're doing at the moment is our Hip for Hip trial, and I'm leading this along with Professor Danielle Cronin. And this is where we're trialling a hospital in the home program for people who've broken their hip. People who break their hip spend a lot of time in hospital. As you know, there are shortages of beds in the hospital system at the moment. So if we can, we'll try and get people home as quickly as possible. This project will finish sometime later this year, and it'll have a big impact on how we care for patients after hip fracture. Now, this leads me to the trial that we're raising money for here tonight, the music trial. This study aims to explore and address musculoskeletal health issues and disparities in culturally and linguistically diverse communities, and we shorten that to COLD. I'm not going to speak much more about this because the panel later are going to talk more about this issue, but part of what will help us do the research in this space is the purchase of a bone density scanner, and that will allow us to detect osteoporosis and even what we call sarcopenia, which is muscle wasting with age. I'll leave my talk here, but before I go, I need to say a very big thank you to Dr. Tweedy Ann Gooey, who is a new member of the Whitlam team. She's our postdoctoral researcher, and she's responsible with her partner for the organisation of tonight, and she's responsible for the music study. And I think Tweedy, you've done a wonderful job, and we'll thank you later in the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Professor, I don't think you can run away from me.
Please accept our flowers bunch from the organizing team. And this is the gratitude. This is the flowers from Tuyan and Ms. Chandan Marie. Thank you so much, Professor.
This is from Dr. Tweedy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving to patient interview and experts panel introductions.
Thưa quý vị, chúng tôi sẽ mời những người professor lên trên sân khấu và chuẩn bị khám bệnh cho một vài bệnh nhân để quý vị biết sơ qua về chương trình của ngày hôm nay. Firstly, I would like to invite Professor Daniel Nis Cronin. Please come to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big welcome to Professor Daniel Negrini.
And I would like to invite the patient number 1, also patient number 2, and finally, Dr. Thúy Anh Bùi, the Senior Research Fellow, Woodland Orthopedic Research Center.
So our patients have passed their first test. They've managed to get up on stage. None of us has fallen, so that's a good start.
So hi everyone. Today my role is the interpreter. So I'm doing a proper job when I go to the osteoporosis clinic. When the nurses talk to the patient in English and my patient is crying because they see a Vietnamese in the hospital that can translate. So yeah, con chào cô ạ. Con xin giới thiệu với mọi người. This is Miss Cô Phấn. She is from the New South Wales Elderly, Vietnamese Elderly Association, and they are a very big association that has been established for about 10 years now and doing all the good work for the community. And they're helping all the elderly people having a really good life here. They're Vietnamese. And all the service is running in Vietnamese, so she's the darling wife of the president of that association. We are very honored to have her here today. Come on. And let me introduce the next. She's not the patient because you see she's strong, bright, and very brown. She's Miss Nguyễn Thị Nên, and she's the president of Block 1706, and she's been fighting for human rights in Vietnam and also helping a lot of people here in Australia and Sydney, and she's helping us a lot for this charity event as well. So please could you give a round of applause to both our patients. And then I'll pass the floor to you.
Thank you. Come on. So I do have slides. If they don't pop up, I can talk around it.
Can we do a bit louder so people can hear?
Yeah. So I think there are slides. Someone's kindly helping with the IT tonight.
Yeah. So they're all eagerly waiting for your question, Doctor. What are you asking them today?
So what we're going to talk a little bit about before dinner, and I won't keep you too long from your food. Food is very important to stay strong. So what we're going to talk about is how we are now and what we would like to look like. So the slides are going to come up shortly, but can I ask, ladies, how do you feel tonight? Do you feel good?
Cô có hỏi là hôm nay hai cô có khỏe không? Có thấy vui không? Cô nên trả lời trước ha. Yeah, she's feeling good. Yeah. Còn cô? Dạ, tôi khỏe. She's feeling great too.
Even better. Okay. Isn't that what we all want as we get older? To feel good or to feel great? It is, right? Okay. So when we're thinking about how we would like to get older, most of us would like to stay strong. Most of us would like to stay independent. So when it comes to our bones and our muscles and our brains, we need to try and preserve those. Okay, and that starts from a very young age. In fact, in terms of our bone health, it starts much younger than I am now. What does successful aging look like? These ladies, okay? But for some people, it's bungee jumping at the age of 90. Next slide, quickly, sir, clicker. It may be bungee jumping driving a fast race car, it may be dancing with your partner, it may just be being able to go to the shops, okay? Have a think about where you are now, where you think you might be in 20 to 30 years, and where you would like to be. So Twee's going to kindly interpret some of that.
Thì cô Daniel có nói là khi mà cộng đồng của mình hay là nói chung đó, trong những người sống ở trong vùng Tây Nam Sydney, thì khi mà mình già đi, cái điều quan trọng nhất là mình khỏe, mình cảm thấy vui vẻ, thoải mái và có thể làm được những công việc mà mình muốn. Đó là những điều mà những người bác sĩ và y tá ở trong bệnh viện muốn giúp đỡ và muốn đưa cho mọi người trong cộng đồng có thể khỏe mạnh hơn.
So it's not really a game because there's no prize for the highest score. But in your little booklets on the tables, you'll find the clinical frailty scale. That's a scale that healthcare professionals use to try and judge how much help someone might need and where they are in terms of frailty.
Thì ở trong mỗi cái program booklet có một cái bảng để nói về cái sức khỏe chung của mọi người bệnh nhân khi mà có, thì nó cái rank từ số 1 đến số 9, và mọi người ở trong bệnh viện thì thường dùng những cái chỉ số này để có thể chăm sóc cho bệnh nhân. Nên là mọi người có thể tự kiểm tra xem là mình đang ở cái mức nào, mình đã khỏe hay là còn có nhiều vấn đề.
So Twee's going to help me ask our lovely volunteers here. And you can lie if you want, okay? Because we're acting on stage.
Thưa hai cô, bây giờ bác sĩ sẽ hỏi cô một vài câu hỏi đó ha, để cô trả lời. Con sẽ dịch cho hai cô.
So if we think about how much help you need to walk or to do things at home, maybe you can let Twee know how much help you're needing, and then we can say estimate where you might be on the clinical frailty scale.
Bây giờ cô bác sĩ Daniel muốn hỏi cô là hàng ngày mình đi lại đó thì mình có cần nhiều cái sự trợ giúp để mà mình đi lại được bình thường trong nhà hay làm cái việc nhà không? Cô có cần nhiều người giúp hay là hay cô có thể tự làm được những việc đó?
Ở trong nhà thì tôi đi tới đi lui được, và còn mỗi tháng còn lại dành hội cao niên để phụ nấu bếp để đãi đầu tháng đó. Ở đầu hội có tổ chức là họp mặt hội viên đó, và trước khi mà có Covid đó thì 100 mấy 200, bây giờ còn chừng 101, 102. Mà tôi làm ở đó 18 năm rồi con. Bây giờ hơi yếu nhưng mà cũng còn làm được. Đi xa thì mỏi, mệt vậy thôi. Với lại cái chiều cao đó nó sụt cô. Hồi trước đó là 1 thước 57, bây giờ còn có 1 thước 45, là nặng 60 kg.
Cảm ơn cô ạ. Thank you. She's feeling still very good, but she's still weaker than before, and she got the height reduced from 157. Yeah, from more than 150 to 145 centimeters. And she has, she's fine at home and still trying to volunteer as much as she can, as in the last 18 years. Yeah, but still she's feeling.
Very good.
Dạ, còn cô Đen ạ, cô cần giúp đỡ gì đi lại không?
Tôi xin giới thiệu tôi bữa nay là 81 tuổi.
She's 81 years old, ladies and gentlemen. 81. And still driving and do a lot of charity work.
Rồi tôi cũng sinh hoạt ở trong thành phố 706, cho nên mỗi năm tôi có gây quỹ làm từ thiện gửi cho những nhà đấu tranh dân chủ Việt Nam, và tất cả những từ thiện nào của chúng tôi cũng đóng góp hết, nhất là từ thiện ở nhà thương. Thì cái đó là cái tinh thần của tôi vậy, trước sau cái đó là căn bản, cho nên mình phải đóng góp để có một cái máy để mà đỡ các bệnh hoạn. Tất cả mọi người Việt Nam mình ai bệnh hoạn thì được ưu tiên được vô khám cái máy đó. Như vậy là vì vậy mà tôi phải nói để cho bà con đóng góp để chúng ta có một cái máy ở tại Fairfield, người Việt Nam mình sử dụng, là nghe nói gọi là tôi ủng hộ.
Thank you, cô. I think she's less concerned about her health, but what she's concerned about how we get out tonight. because she's doing fundraising every year and helping the people in Vietnam. And what she's concerned tonight is how successful this event would be, how generous you are. Lord, you have been very generous. We have a lot of major sponsors here joining us from all the table, so you don't need to worry.
Thank you. So, as we mentioned, the fundraising that we're doing tonight is, and as Prof. Nader said, is partly to try and fund a machine that will help us look at bones and muscles. We've heard about osteoporosis, which is thin or brittle bones. And then when we have weakening, shrinking muscles, that's called sarcopenia. And we also have scoring tools. Doctors and nurses and physios love tools that give us numbers. That's included in your booklet too. So these are some of the things that we'd like to look at, and particularly in our wonderfully diverse community here in Southwest Sydney, where we think there's a real opportunity to improve and optimize the care that we're able to offer the people living in our area.
Thank you very much, Dr. Daniel. Cô bác sĩ xong rồi ha. Bây giờ con mời hai cô ngồi lại để người giáo sư đó lên ngồi cạnh cô cùng panel để nói chuyện xem là mình ở đây có thể làm được những cái dự án nghiên cứu nào để giúp cho những cộng đồng sắc tộc mà đặc biệt là cộng đồng người Việt sống ở trong vùng Tây Nam Sydney. Nha, vậy đây là hai cô dám ngồi lại một vài phút để có một chung một cái khung hình với cả người giáo sư. Cảm ơn cô ha, cảm ơn các cô rất nhiều. Bây giờ mình không phải trả lời nữa nên là thoải mái, không phải căng thẳng nữa.
Thank you. Come on.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, our seniors. Thank you to our seniors. Thank you, Dr. Thuy.
We can share, we're very nice.
On behalf of our organizations, we would like to dedicate this flower to you as a symbol of our heartfelt appreciation and gratitude.
Con xin được gửi tặng hai bó bông. Đây là bó bông mà do chính Thùy Anh sáng nay dậy rất là sớm và có chị Mai Huyên. Hai chị em ngồi có từng bó bông để tặng cho những người khách mở. Còn I made these flower buckets just for our special guests. Thank you. You can stay on the stage with us, holding the flowers now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to invite Professor Ian Harris, the director of the Woodland Orthopedic Research Center, to join us on the stage.
So as you know, Professor is very famous of the surgeon, and he's not famous for just doing surgery for the patient. He has a great sense of humor. That's why we have him here.
And ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Freeberg Kula, who will now join us on stage.
Professor Freeberg Kula, he's a clinical director of Southwest Sydney Local Health District, and he's also director of Harlem Care. So if you go to Braeside Hospital, he's there. And we have the people from Rotary Club. They've been helping to build a sensory garden in the Braeside Hospital. It's really good.
And I would like to invite Professor Stephen Frost.
So Professor Stephen Frost is a professor of nursing. He's the boy of Liverpool.
We also would like to welcome Dr. Win to join us on stage.
Dr. Win, tên tiếng Việt là Nguyễn Đình Nguyên, là một người làm nghiên cứu nhưng mà anh là học. He's a doctor, he's a GP, and he got a long way with the PhD training, and now he's back into clinical work. And he is the author of the very famous Gala fracture risk calculator that has been used in the world by millions of people around the world. And we would like to have him here to share his experience and stories. Last but not least, please welcome the host, Professor Chris White. He is the executive leader of the SPHERE, the Sydney Partnership Network for Education and Enterprise. He's a very entertaining speaker. That's why I would like to have Professor Chris White here to lead a very funny discussion.
Okay, how you going? How are you all? Okay, I'm one of the few people in the world that you can actually call a bonehead, and it's not an insult. In fact, you've just got my password. Okay, you can hack all my accounts. It's bonehead something, right? So, usually it means you're a bit of a dummy, but actually we love bones. Because as we get older, we age on the inside the way we're aging on the outside. But like all things, if we can't see it, we don't tend to worry about it. So Nguyen, you're a very successful young man. You see a lot of patients. How many of them come and say, "What about my bones?"
So we've been together for ages ago.
Yeah.
And I'm actually not young, but really hard age.
Yeah.
So therefore, look at the face of the people, we can't tell the face. Like how lucky Jim, but at the end of the day, Christian and I just discussed about, okay, they asked me, how many people in your community check in the termite in your house?
Well, how many are there?
Oh, I don't know. And then I said, after the house ruining down. He said, exactly. So therefore, even look young, but don't touch me. Don't touch my face.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, that's why we anyone with advanced age, we have to accept the degeneration. We have to help. We can't build up like young people, but we have to delay or stop or breaking.
Yeah, stop breaking.
Slowing down.
How many of you have had termites? How many of you have had termites at home? Hands up. Who even knows what a termite is? Yeah, there you are. Now, what did you do when you got termites? You didn't go and see Nguyen. What did you do?
I have to pest control.
Yeah, you got a pest inspector, didn't you? You went and got a pest inspection, okay? Welcome to densitometry, right? It's a pest inspection of your bones. Because the same thing is happening in your bones as is happening in termites, right? It's eating away at your bones and it's chewing away, and then one day what happens? It collapses, okay? That's osteoporosis. You don't know about it if you don't check. If you see Nguyen, you'll do something about it. What would you do? What would you do if somebody said, or you were worried about their osteoporosis? What would you do?
Yeah. We have to go to check. But it depends, we have to accept the risk and okay, come to approach the doctor, see what we have to do. But at least we know it. If we don't know it, we don't know what the problem.
Okay.
Right.
So
we don't know the termite, we never know the termite, so we need to check for that.
So you get
awareness.
So you'll get a bone density, you'll get a DEXA.
That's what you do.
You get a DEXA?
Get a DEXA.
We'll get a DEXA.
Yeah.
And you guys today, we're going to buy a DEXA. Alright? Because people, good Vietnamese women need a DEXA. Right? So that's what we're going to do. Now, Steve, that DEXA can do something else, can't it? What else can it do? Can it do something with muscle? Tell me what you like, Tom.
So thanks, Chris. Yeah, so as Danielle's mentioned, it's not just bones that become weaker as people age, it's also the muscle. And one of the things that we actually see with that decreased muscle mass is that people start to fall. So we know 1 in 3, 1 in 4 people over the age of 60 report falling. So there's a lot of people falling we don't contact.
Yeah.
But at some stage, they fall and there's a fracture.
Okay.
And that's what we're interested in. We can also do DEXA, not only to look at the bone mass, but we can also look at the muscle mass.
So you got that? The bone density machine can not only measure how much bone you've got, it will tell you how much muscle you've got. There are other ways to do it, but it'll tell you muscle head to toe. And so they're going to do a lot of research, because usually you're falling before you fracture it, okay? And so the Whitlam Orthopaedic Centre at Fairfield Hospital, Liverpool, South West Sydney, they are leading the research in osteoporosis in Sydney, okay? And in Australia. So we need your support to really, to drive that beacon of expertise. Ian, you're running the joint. Well, okay, you're running the joint. Are you still in the cupboard? Have you got out from under the cupboard? Oh, thank God. Okay, I'm glad you got her out of the cupboard. Too bad. So, Ian, you're a surgeon. You actually have to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, right? Hey, who knows about Humpty Dumpty? Is it? Everybody, yeah, good. I'm going to try and recite it. This is my mental test. Humpty Dumpty.
I can sing it.
Humpty Dumpty.
Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again, but they didn't have Puffy and Harris.
Well, so ladies and gentlemen, Professor Ian Harris is all the king's men trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, because when you fall and fracture, you need
Sorry, xin lỗi. Cái con nó bị rớt xuống.
you need surgery.
Đây là món ăn đầu tiên nè quý vị, hai vị.
That's what we're trying to avoid, of course. And a lot of people think
Tôm
with
với
surgery,
cá hồi hả? Cá hồi sống.
hip or if you break your
Còn cái này là chắc bò
very
quá.
common fractures. We see older people presenting every day at Liverpool.
Cái kiểu của Tây Đại á, làm một cái nè là món này, rồi xong rồi cái này, người kế bên là món này, và cứ trở lại như vậy đó.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Bây
keep
giờ
your hips for as long as you can.
sắp tới cái giờ những người ngồi chung bàn họ ăn á, cho nên Ngọc Lục sẽ ngưng cái video tí xíu nha quý vị nha. Tí nữa nó có ai trình diễn nhạc thì Ngọc Lục sẽ trở lại nha.
Great. See when he will get you the DEXA,
tạm biệt quý vị.
get you the bone density, and